Well, look at this beauty here. This is the cross section of a 3-acre plot that's getting thinned out. Now again, he's not clearing it. He's thinning it out, leaving behind the larger trees that we're going to use for some timber framing. I'm actually learning how to timber frame. By the way, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. And what we've got here is a beautiful chaos. So there's the forest how it was before. It's very thick, it's difficult to get through. And we've now, after creating trails, we're creating our home plot area. And we're not going to be able to build right away. Home prices are pretty high, so there aren't going to be any buildings coming out here. Might not even get a well anytime soon. But essentially, we're opening up the space to start doing more camping and recreational activities. Now, a lot of people think forest mulching, they're going to think everything's shredded down into really fine material, but I've specifically asked them to just go through as fast as possible, because all of this wrecked up material here, all these pieces and stuff, that's going to be firewood for when we're camping out here. We're going to come through here with a chainsaw and a sawhorse and saw that stuff all up and basically stack it on the trail so that when we camp, we can get the material. But look what he's done. He's made his way through there. So I'm not going to go that way because the equipment's moving. He's also continued this. So this was not, see this arrow? I showed you in a previous video. This was not a trail. Look how beautiful this trail is. Now, can I drive a truck down here? I cannot drive a truck down here yet. But again, he's thinning it out, creating all these trails in our area that we want to reduce the forest density. That's going to give us the opportunity to camp, to hike, to do more. Now, I'll tell you the truth, before, when it was just this, it's a little hard to get through that. You know, I'm already winded walking the mile it took me to get here. But essentially, the trails open up the space, allow better airflow. They allow us to get a little more use out of the property. And he's going to thin it out so much that all will be left is trees that are 4 inches or greater that weren't quite in the way of the mower as he ran through. And again, I need those for poles. And you know, it takes a number of years to grow that. So we're only clearing the underbrush where it is in the way. We're only clearing the underbrush basically. And then any of these big trees that come down, they were in the way, or he couldn't turn around properly or whatever. But again, all this slash on the side here is definitely going to be great firewood. It allows some of the microbial activity to continue because again, we're not removing the biomass and we're allowing the space to cultivate. Now, let's do a little exploration. I see in here a mound of rocks. Okay, this is probably on the edge of a field that was cultivated. This mound of rocks will stay here, but this is material. I'll come back and geotag this in another time. I don't have my GPS on me at this time. But this material right here could be the foundation of a building. So we're gonna mark it, geotag it, and come out and check it out later. This type of rock is good for different rock walls and other projects. And there could even be a rock wall in here, but I doubt it. I doubt it because I'm pretty sure this was an old field and the satellites don't show old rock walls. But he's raking through here. He's trying to stay on level. These are good, solid paths that we'll be able to definitely get a lot of use. And you can see how much light is coming into the woods here. So this section right here, if we're unable to finish it in 2 days, that's okay, because we can put up some temporary fencing around smaller cells within a large 3-acre paddock so that we can have goats come through here and basically eat down the rest of the branches. I have designs together for a couple of portable shelters so that we can put the goats in portable shelters. And those portable shelters are only like 6 or 8 feet wide, so they'll definitely you can drag them down. So they're about 4 foot by 8 foot. And they have like a little porch on them. So probably a 6 foot by 8 foot footprint on skids. You can certainly drag that down one of these trails and give the animals some shelter. Now they're gonna go in and eat all this brush and eat all the underbrush that's gonna grow now that there's sunlight able to get under the trees. So we're opening up the woods The sunlight opens up the plants and gets us more plants growing, but because we didn't strip off the biomass, that's going to rot down too and start reincorporating with the soil. So we're preserving the environment. You might say, oh, Justin, you're tearing down beautiful trees. No, we're sequestering carbon into biomass, leaving it on site. A lot of this stuff might have value if it was chipped up or shredded and then taken to turned into fuel pellets. But no, we're going to keep this material on site, and this material is going to feed the soil here. Now, I just saw a dragonfly. Look at that. That's a dragonfly right there. We're cultivating the biome. We're not. We're working with nature in a way that facilitates growth. It facilitates a wider variety of creatures, but ultimately we're not harming it in any way. So all this shredded biomass that used to be trees is simply going to rot down in place. Now, when it rots, it can create methane while it rots, but it's not likely to create enough to be worried about because it's just the thin layer above everything. So the trees standing up are the trees that remain are gonna be stimulated, and they're gonna capture more carbon. The ability to get in and out of the property is gonna help us come out here and do some more activities. So everybody really wins. I'm not really gonna walk up the trail. I hear he's doing a great job up there. I'm gonna walk around the other side and take some pictures. But again, how can you work with your land? First off, you start with what type of land is it? What's the slope? What's the grade? What's the climate? What do you want to do with the property? And then what is the property naturally expressing? In this case, the property was naturally expressing all of this underbrush. And this underbrush is just pretty rampant. It's quite a bit of a mess. So how do we handle that? Well, again, people like to get it. They're bulldozers. They like to build these big brush piles. They like to burn all this stuff. But we want to conserve the soil. So we turn the underbrush into shredded wood chips, and we turn it into food for the soil. And that overall gives us the bounty that we're looking for. Imagine if all these trails had grass on them or had just small new growth. And by the way, it's the new growth that has the maximum amount of carbon sequestration material. I could grow in these past alfalfa, I could grow in these past sorghum, I could grow in the past deer plots with a variety of different greens and such, or I could simply just grow a pasture blend. Now, there won't necessarily be enough light to have consistent grass everywhere, and I'm looking for it. There are a number of natural grasses that are already out here that are likely to kick up once the light gets on the soil surface. Now, with the light on the soil surface, not everywhere. It's like silvopasture. You know, we still have the outside with trees, and this inside is only really going to be thinned out. But with the silvopasture style, we're going to have tree growth that's going to be rapid due to the accessibility of nutrients and the accessibility of light. We're going to have some timber that can come out over time. But again, there's a nice log tree there. There's an okay tree here, but look how few there are. They're few and far between. The rest of it's just scrub brush. So again, we're working with how the soil is expressing itself already, how the tree is expressing itself. And look at this, all that material. It's like walking on a mulch path. It literally is a mulch path that is bountiful and abundant. And we're not hauling off any materials. All these little tiny trees, the scrub stuff's probably 3 to 5 years old. If after we do this project, we have to abandon the land for some reason, the land will quickly recover. If we pillaged and tore apart the land with bulldozers and buried the topsoil and did a lot of other things that are very costly, but very frequently the first choice, we would end up degrading the land. With what we've got here, again, all of this nitrogen, all of these branches. First off, deer come in and eat most of this stuff. But all these branches, all of this biomass is simply going to reincorporate and live on the soil. Look at that big mound of stuff here. Now I'm going to do things to accelerate the biology, which includes inoculating the mulch paths with mushrooms. You can simply take a bunch of mushrooms and blend them in a blender, get it real liquidy, and then just kind of leave lines of, so you kind of like dripping it along the path. That's one way to inoculate at this scale. You know, there are 3 miles of trail and then a mile of road. Another thing you can do is, as you're taking out some of these materials, you can use a stove that creates charcoal. And then you can simply douse the charcoal, inoculate it with microbes. So it's different types of bacteria and soil funguses. You can actually take some of this soil and in a bubble. It's a little too complex to talk about here, but basically you take some of the forest soil and you bubble it in water and just propagate, and molasses and stuff like that, and get more of that soil biology going, and then do the same thing. Just drip it around on the soil, on the ground. And finally, we got all this material here to make little wood projects, to basically come out here and enjoy the property, to come out here and get the most of the land in its current condition. You know, we don't have to do extra stuff to get the land any further, and then we're ultimately going to enjoy it. And I'll share some of the stories with you, by the way. If you've got questions, or you've got a land of your own and you want some ideas to get more utility value out of it, actually, I have a special report on how to make money with your land, and it includes 20 or 30 different things that people do to make money with their land, and how to get that management straight so your land cash flows. You want that cash flow because, again, inoculants, cover crops, you know, all this stuff costs money, okay? But this land will eventually get to the point where a lot of these openings will be good grass pads, and there'll be plenty of food for the deer, plenty of food for the other animals, and of course, an abundance of food for me and my family. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. I'm just so excited about what's going on today. I got the forest mulchers out, and there's a lot of videos about forest mulching, how to make decisions about choosing a forest mulcher, how to look at the design so that you get the appropriate use out of the forest mulcher. You know, ask your questions on the video that you have. I'll be happy to answer them. Again, I'm Justin Hitt. You can also visit www.prosperityhomestead.org for consulting services.